Hello? Is this thing on? Man, I just feel kind of burnt out today. Or this entire week has been kind of a mess. I've been trying to make videos. It's just not working out. Sunday, Waves announced they are doing this creative access subscription. And we're going to talk about that. This is a hot topic for 48 hours. So we're going to catch up on that. We're also going to talk about alternatives to Waves plugins. We might try a new AI tool if we can get it to work. Other than that, we're going to answer questions and have some fun with Reaper. Somebody asked if I normally do this. Yes, every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Yeah, here for a couple hours to answer your questions and stuff. So, yeah, who else is burnt out this week? I had my kids home for 2 weeks, and it's just hard to get any deep work done or anything. And yeah, so this week back, it's like 3 hours of meetings, so talking to people for 3 hours and doing highly technical stuff, and then just organizing the studio a little bit, trying to fix some problems with workflow in Reaper, and it just like that problem leads to another problem, which leads to another problem, and then finally get to the point where I want to make a video and I'm just physically exhausted. We might get interrupted today because my wife has ordered something on Reverb and I don't know what it is, but it's out for delivery today, so I don't know. This is the new Slayer Wars from backing track. I've only listened to it once. Definitely Mick Gordon inspired. Not quite the same. All right, so let's start off with a poll. Do you have Waves plugins? Yes or no? So 70% of you have Waves plugins already. They have some really good tools. They have the most annoying licensing. No, Waves never liked their update issues. Yeah, it seems like every time they do an update, it breaks everything for all Reaper users. For a long time, people never knew which version of Waves plugins to use for Reaper. Constant issues like that. And so I mostly stayed away. It seems like about half of you have Waves plugins or have had Waves plugins at some time. So they announced the Waves Creative Access on Sunday, which, yeah, it's a subscription, gives you access to every single plugin, and it also screws over everyone that already has plugins that bought thousands of dollars worth of perpetual licenses as they've changed their licensing system over the years. The Waves plugins used to be like considered premium. They were expensive. They were good. They were like the best in the business for a really long time. You know, back in the days when there weren't any free options, there weren't independent plugin companies, because it was just like the barrier to entry was so high. So over time, the industry changed. There's a lot of free plugins coming out. There's a lot of cheaper options for a lot of the Waves plugins. The library of what you can get with Waves kept expanding, and every year they've got like 10, 20 new plugins. Then they started discounting their plugins. So it was very often that they'd have, like, plugins would never be full price. They'd always be $29, $59, $79. Instead of the usual like $199 or whatever. The prices of the bundles dropped dramatically. Just a couple weeks ago, they had a big sale. You could get like everything for $100 or something like that. And then on Sunday, they announced that they've got this subscription thing, and there's no perpetual licenses anymore. You have to be on the subscription. And if you're not on the subscription, your stuff just stops working. So everyone fucking hated this so much. that there's a lot of backlash. On Twitter, this is the announcement post. Generally, when you see like more quotes than likes, there's something going on. It's a very controversial topic. What you see in the comments is only about a tenth of what's actually there. They've been hiding a lot of the comments. And so if you click this button here, this is all hidden replies, and there are like hundreds of them. Like, imagine managing a Twitter account, and for a single post, you have to hide this many comments. I'm still scrolling. There's so much. It's hard to imagine like what's going on in their offices here. They must have realized that they've done something wrong if they have to do this, but they really shouldn't hide replies. They should comment back. Most of these hidden replies have no replies. Oh, there's more. So people really hated this decision. They hated the subscription thing. I will say the subscription idea, pay a flat rate every month, you get everything. That's really good for the new user, or maybe more like someone like me that can turn each plugin into a video and then get some money back. If this was 2006 and I had just finished audio engineering school, and the choice was $15 a month for all the Waves plugins, and I would have the best plugins in the industry, essentially, at that time. Or the alternative is to use cracked plugins. I went with the cracked plugins because I didn't have $1,000, $2,000 to get into the Waves system at that time. And free plugins were not good at that time. The subscription is great for people just entering the industry. They've maybe had one or two Waves plugins and just couldn't afford the rest of them, or, for whatever reason. But this is really bad for the existing users, the people that have already spent a few $100s on their plugins. They've got a bunch of stuff that they've been using for years. They paid the full price. They're supposed to have it for life, and Waves takes that away. So there's a shitload of backlash, and they change it. And so now there's perpetual licenses for everyone that's an existing user. New users can also just buy a license outright. Plus, there is this subscription. It's about double the amount of likes compared to quotes and retweets now. So, I mean, a lot of people are still not happy about this. If you go to the hidden replies, there's a lot less, a dozen maybe. They went about it really wrong. So instead of having these fire sales, selling off the plugins really cheap right before this, they should have had maybe a 3-month window where they're just campaigning awareness for a subscription system coming. And then people can get their stuff updated. They can pay into this thing so that they get maybe 6 months free, something like that. But this was a messed up way to do it. And they got a shitload of free press for this as well. From what I've covered so far, what are your thoughts on this? I think, they got ratioed. Gearspace was 15 pages on the thread in 12 hours. There's 20 videos on your subpage. Yeah, I don't like to get into Twitter drama, but this is beyond Twitter drama. This affects everyone. I think this can affect the decisions of other companies as well. So anyone that was kind of on the fence of, should we do a subscription? They're probably not going to do a subscription now. I don't like what Isotope has done with their plugin offerings in recent years. I'm still blocked on Twitter because I criticized their paid updates every, I don't know, what is it, 18 months or something? And you buy RX and then 18 months later it's obsolete and they don't update it for the new operating systems and things like that. I get bitter about that. I mention it on Twitter and I get blocked. That was years ago and I'm still blocked, but oh well. But it's also important to remember that it's not 2006 anymore. It's not 2010 anymore. There's so many plugin companies out there. There's so much free stuff. And I think you should pay for what's good, the stuff that you use, the stuff that is creative tools for you, or the stuff that streamlines your process, allows you to be creative, allows you to make money through sound. Yeah, pay for that stuff. There's so many great developers out there that are worth paying for, that just make creative tools and just love it. Their Waves always seems to be doing something to make more money. Avid's the same way. You know, they had a whole update that was just adding a store to Pro Tools. What are they doing? So let's look at some of the recommendations from a sound designer that I know, Nick Boncanel, who's working on Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. You know, Star Wars games. He knows about sound design. Common plugins from Waves: R-Bass, C4, Doubler, H-Delay, Ultra Pitch, Z-Noise, Smack Attack, and Low Air. There's lots of alternatives: Denise Audio Bass XL, FabFilter Pro MB, Melda M Chorus MB for H-Delay, Soundtoys Echo Boy, Ultra Pitch, Devious Machines Pitch Monster for Z-Noise, Sonox Oxford Denoiser, Smack Attack, use Spiff. For Low Air, there's Low Ender, Ambassador, Root 1, and others. There's a lot of alternatives to these plugins. You can phase them out of your workflow, out of your templates. You know, support these other smaller developers. Soundtoys is a pretty small team still. I would consider Sonox to be a bigger developer, but Devious Machines, I think they're like 3 to 5 people. Denise Audio, I don't know them very well. Yeah, all these other companies, I would much rather pay them. Venus Theory also had a list here. For your $149 per year, I suggest Kilohearts free bundle. You get 30 plugins. Melda Production free bundle. You get pretty much everything, including vocal tuning. IK Multimedia's Amplitude CS. Yeah, I highly recommend that one as well. Chow DSP, Chow Tape, and you get $149 in your savings account. Also, Oral River, Reverb, Valhalla DSP, Supermassive, Matt Titels, Vital, SST Surge XT, Dragonfly Reverbs, Chow DSP, Chow Matrix, Kramit and Delay, Odin, and yeah, there's just so many free options or cheap options these days. It's you don't have to go with these huge companies that are like, you know, swallowing up smaller companies. This whole thing reminded me of a smaller company called Acusonus that were bought by Facebook. And then about 6 months later, they don't even have a website anymore. They're just gone. You can't buy their plugins. You can't get support for the stuff that you've already paid for. It's just gone. It's kind of sad. To me, like, Waves is kind of like the Facebook of the industry in a way. I think the subscription model on its own is not a bad idea, as long as you're continuing to provide value to the customer, to you know, release new things and have more incentives to stay on that system, more than just the fear of missing out or something like that, or the fear that your stuff will stop working if you don't pay for it. Like I said earlier, I would have loved to have this plan, $149 a year when I'm a student, when I'm learning music production, when I want to have, you know, some sort of, you know, benefit above my peers. Then yeah, sounds good. But this update alienates the studios that have already invested full price in systems that are basically obsolete if they don't continue to pay monthly. It's annoying. Plugins shouldn't have an upkeep cost, in my opinion. Sad part is, even with the reinstatement of Perpetual, most people have been burned so bad that they're never trusting them again. And that's kind of my thoughts on it. The way that they approached announcing this, just dropping it on a Sunday and then hiding all the negative replies, they could have handled that a lot better. And when they changed their mind, go back with that decision, they It doesn't fix everything. Yeah, so people aren't screwed that have already paid. Great, but also, yeah, it really hurts the company's trust. Vertical Pulse says, everyone is emotional saying no more waves, but that RVox, though, no processor is the same. Yeah, they've got some really good, unique stuff that's just simple and easy to use, but also stuff that's like 30 years old now. And like, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't currently have any Waves plugins. Any of the free offers that they've had over the years that I've picked up, like by the time I get around to installing it, like when I actually have a need for it and then go to install it, it's already like out of date. I can't install it. It's like, well, I give up. Back in 2006 or something like that, I used the cracked plugins just because it felt like I needed to have that stuff and to try it and have opinion on it. But then when I started buying all my plugins, it was never considered really. Just never liked the stuff that much. I know a lot of people love the Wave stuff and they use it almost exclusively. This subscription system, it's probably very annoying for them. Hoping that many will opt in for a rent-to-own plan. Yeah, who is it that has a rent-to-own system? I think that's Splice, where you can pay monthly, and then at the end you have the license. You get to keep it and use it forever. Now, I don't know if you get updates and things like that, but generally, most other companies don't make you pay for every new version. Company like Audio Thing, they occasionally have paid updates, but it's like a $10 update every 5 years or something like that. So that's pretty good. Obviously, keeping stuff up to date with the new operating systems does take time and money, and adding new features takes time and money. So I think it's okay to charge a little bit, but like when it's like $500 a year to keep your stuff updated, it just seems greedy at that point. Davy says he's got the Sonic Pass from UVI, and you always get new packs and instruments. So they're very active developers. Yeah, I haven't looked into that one. Just from the small UVI libraries that I have already, I've already got more than I can absorb. So, but I've heard good things about that one. But you know what's not a waste of money? Subscribing to the Reaper blog or becoming a channel member. It's only $5 a month. I think that's about all I want to say about the Waves stuff. Feel free to keep putting stuff there in the comments. This is an app, browser app called WavTool, which is essentially a DAW with ChatGPT built in. It's interesting. I couldn't get it to work, to be honest, but it's an interesting idea. And a lot of people were dunking on this on Twitter. I think it could be really cool. You know, for people that want a pastime, like they don't approach music production as a career. They don't take it seriously. They just want something to do, and music can be fun. This has some interesting things. There's the chatbot, and how do I turn that off? And there's also this like node-based thing, which I haven't explored at all. I don't know how to choose samples or anything like that. But there's also synths built in. There's supposed to be a function where you just type in something and it makes a pattern for you. You can just click on it and it adds it to the thing. But it didn't seem to work for me. And I don't know if that's just my browser or this thing. So you can do something like change synth sound to arpeggio. It's going to think for a second, kind of sort some presets. So here's the sound originally. Yeah, these are not arpeggios, but So you can pick it from the thing. I don't really like the node-based approach in general, but I know that you can make some pretty crazy things from that. This is interesting, and this is one of those projects that I think is made by one person, and it's only been around for a couple months. It's currently free, so you know, if you got a few minutes to kill, just may as well try it out. I haven't really used any browser-based stuff. It seems pretty smooth overall. There was some shortcut that it showed me the first time I opened it, and I forget what it is. Show keybinds. Like, it has keyboard shortcuts, so it's not mouse only. So, oh yeah, trigger omnibar, Command K. So, Command K gives you this sort of thing. It gives you a quick access to a lot of the commands. Can I select like delay? Oh, and I can modify it right from this menu. That's kind of cool. Search for drum, and I can change the kick, pitch, drop time. So this is really cool. Reaper has things like this, but not with parameters inside. You got to do everything by typing. This is a nice innovation. I haven't seen this in any actual DAW before. All right, so where's my kick? I lost the sound for the kick somehow. Let's do new. Suddenly started working, okay. Let's, all right, where is it? Metronome, 1 bar count in, hit record. Yep, that metronome sure was important there. All right, so double click on the item, and just like moving around seems pretty fluid, like basic, kind of like GarageBand. But it's got a piano roll. If you enter a note with Command Alt click, you can then press Tab to repeat it immediately, which I thought was pretty cool. And it has a little overlay saying what it's going to do next. Does AI create a starting point? Let's try it. Create a 90 BPM funk groove. Better than the Tesla DAW for sure. Okay, set BPM to 90. Click that. It did. Add funky drum pattern to drums. Hey, pattern worked. Okay, so I'll just move this over to 1. Okay. Add funky bassline to synth. Is it good? No, it's not. Okay, so bass guitar sounds for synth. Let's see if there's a different preset. Sounds like Lady Gaga poker face. Okay, so it really wants me to use the cyberpunk dystopia preset, which is definitely not what I want for this, but how do I loop it? How do I loop it? Okay, so Command K, loop, Command L, loop active. Oh, I messed up somehow. Mouse is kind of weird. Oops. Well, that's something. It's not looping right. Oh, it's my fault, of course. Boo Bass, is that you? Okay, so let's do... Let's try an overdrive. And... Well, here's the settings for the synth. I don't know if we can like pop out this window. Oh, one. Where do I assign it? Anyways, that's enough for now. I got this box. I wonder if we should open it. It's a surprise for me, so I don't know. Hang on one sec. I want to get an idea of what it is, or maybe I should ask. I don't know. I'm going to open the box, and then I'll decide if it's appropriate for work. Oh, it's good. It's exactly what I wanted. This was something that I was going to order on stream today, and it turns out I already have it. So, yeah, old Zoom pedals. Both the bass and guitar versions. I once played this pedal and I liked it a lot, but I never ended up buying it. And I'm sure the guitar version sounds very horrible, but yeah, they were like $100. Like, at that price point for a multi-effects, if there's like one good sound, it's still probably worth getting. Because, you know, you'll pay that much for a stomp box. Yeah, I was gonna go on Reverb if we got bored today and order them. But yeah, it's Zoom GFX 707 multi-effects. Obviously used. It's very, I was going to say dusty, but it's outright dirty. 9 volt, 300 milliamp, center negative. So that's standard pedal board stuff. So this should work. At the very least, this is a better headphone amp for my son. And then the other one is the bass version. Yeah, I just always wanted one. It has some neat sounds, neat effects in a compact pedal. This is what I had, the RP100. I liked it for a while. I had to replace the buttons in it a couple times. With some work, you could get some good sounds out of it. I don't know if I would buy one again, knowing how like fragile they are. But I had this one, but I wanted this one. I played bass and guitar through this, and there's lots of distortion sounds and all kinds of stuff. But then when it was time to like upgrade, I guess I just went with individual pedals. Order the Tonex pedal and do a review. Is the Tonex pedal $100? Then I might be able to do that. How is this not safe for work? When I ask my wife what she ordered, she says a box of dicks. So sometimes I just don't know. Only hearing the bass strings on the mic. I should have cut my nails this morning. Yeah, waves replacement right there. Yeah, I would definitely have more fun with this than a Waves plugin right now. I feel like it's not like super hi-fi or anything. Like, I feel like it's gonna work with for a lot of stuff. And just getting weird sounds like this. Zoom was always cool about having stuff like that. Yeah, 1999 sounds about right. I was in high school. In terms of I/O, there's none. Mono input and output. I think. Maybe it is stereo, actually. Being able to control phaser speed with the pedal is pretty cool. Sounds pretty wide for a bass. It's mono. Oh, you're probably... That would still be mono. But you're hearing my mic for the pick attack. And then Reaper. So I don't think there's any like cabinet options, just different amps. And they're fine. So this wasn't on my plan for today, but I'm glad this happened. Oh, there's that classic. What is that? What do you even call that? What is that called? It's got like a sample and hold or pseudo sample and hold. Honestly, buy this pedal just for that sound. You won't use it ever, but it's cool and you'll have it when you need it. You gotta blend it in because it just feels like there's latency on that. It sort of squelches that one note. It's kind of the same every time. Bank F has a lot of fun stuff. I think I may have found the original user's bank of patches. Just a bit of reverb on it. Cool. That's about what I expected to hear. Thin. Guitar feels so small now. It's hitting my sub pretty good, though. The screen on this one's even more dim. I actually don't know if this is meant to go into a PA or a mixer or into a guitar amp first. So a lot of these old things had, like the Pod had both guitar or like amp modeling and speaker modeling. And it would sound kind of weird if you run speaker modeling into a speaker sometimes. I made something in Amplitude like that last night. That was like no better or worse. I like this one. It does that scratch jet thing very well. I can't actually make it go louder. Not great sounds. Ultimately, some good, interesting sounds, but... like, that doesn't sound like a fuzz face to me. Won't sound as good now that you've wiped it? Probably not. I mean, I didn't expect it to work at all, being 22 years old and filthy. That sounds comb filtered, right? We just replaced Superior Drummer 3. Honestly, this is all you need. We have entered Bank F, where the fun begins. That's weird. The time works more like an analog delay. I didn't expect it to work more like an analog delay than a digital delay. Like, this is a good delay, honestly. You know, original guitar sound, not so great, but that delay is a lot like my favorite types of delays. Let's have a little refresher of what a guitar amp is supposed to sound like. Unplug from the pedal entirely. So that's what a free amp sim sounds like these days. And if I wanted a model of my own amp and do something like that. And then let's just add in a tube screamer. I mean, it's definitely worse. It's definitely worse than Amplitube. But it's vintage digital. It doesn't even run at 44.1. That distortion is so brutal with the combo. The EQ on that is so weird. Plus 15 at 100 hertz. None of them sound good. Oh well. All right, let's do something else for a bit. So, new topic. A while ago in a live stream, I was having a ton of trouble editing MIDI while it was looping, like inserting MIDI notes while it was looping, because when I would click around and stuff, the edit cursor would change position. So like the play cursor would change Like it would jump ahead anytime I click to enter a note. So this week I've been working on fixing that issue. What that came down to was some mouse modifiers to change. So piano roll, double click, I changed to a custom action. So first I'll change this to basic insert note. And so when I double click, everyone does this. This is normal. This is normal Reaper behavior. For me, it's not optimal because, as you can see, as you add more notes, they're all still selected. So if I grab one, like, oh, I misclicked, and now they all move. Other ways of entering notes do not do that. So I made a custom action. Insert, I just called this better insert note for double click. Edit unselect all, edit insert note at mouse cursor. Consolidate undo points, call it better insert note for double click, something like that. Then in mouse modifiers for piano roll, double click, change your insert note to action list, better double click. Okay, so now when I double click, previous note gets unselected. All right, so step one was resolved. Step two is with MIDI editor, piano roll, left click. The default is deselect all notes and move edit cursor. So when you click, it moves the edit cursor to where you clicked. And if there was a note already selected, it would unselect it. This action always runs immediately before you double click, right? So as you can see here, my edit cursor is moving to the start of that note when I double click. So for left click, change this to no action. And now it's ignoring that. The edit cursor is not moving, which is great for when playback is running and I'm looping and I want my playback to be continuous. As I put in notes and it just cycles around like a drum machine would. When playback is stopped, it would be nice to be able to choose where I play from by just clicking. And so that's the issue here. When playback is stopped, I want to be able to click and move the edit cursor and unselect notes. And when playback is running, I want it to not move my edit cursor because there's no seek function. How do we fix this? How do we customize mouse modifiers to change? One path that I went down was using the action list. There's mouse modifiers where you can change different things. MIDI note left click, we want that to be no action. So I did this and it worked and I had a good workflow. And then I tried Reaper's pre-releases and these actions are actually gone. So a little spoiler for Reaper 7, I guess. Mouse modifiers are getting an overhaul and changing, and instead of having 1,000 of these actions here with very similar names, there's going to be a new system. And what's implemented so far isn't in the MIDI editor. So all the work that I put into fixing this problem, as soon as I went to the pre-release to test, it stopped working. So I needed another solution for this. I wrote some scripts to change this. So I've got my own like backup version of these actions. Piano roll left click, mouse modifier to no action. So if I run that, and now my mouse modifier, or now my left click or double click does not move my edit cursor, it's still parked at bar 1. So I can play, I can double click, and I'm not changing the edit cursor position. I'm not seeking. And then there's another one for deselect all notes and move edit cursor. So I'll run that one. And now it works more like the default. So when I'm stopped, that works great. I can start here and I can play from there and it's all good. The solution I came up with yesterday was a script that will check if playback is running and then swap the mouse modifier. But I don't think it's a really good workflow because what I should actually do is just always swap the mouse modifier whenever playback starts. And so the easiest way to do that is just to have a shortcut for spacebar that includes that function. I think this is going to have to be a custom cycle action editor. Go to the MIDI section. So let's do a new cycle action. Call this cycle, just so that I can identify it. Transport, play, stop, custom. I'm going to need one of them. Actually, I'll need two of those. Add statement. I need an if. Oh, you know what? Here's the other issue. Transport play, transport stop, transport repeat, transport record in the MIDI editor doesn't report its status. I did actually need another script to solve this. It's been way more complicated than it needs to be. I just want like fluid, intuitive MIDI editing. I've got a script that will set the mouse modifiers the way that I want. I just need to add that into my custom play edit cursor thing. Do you need a cycle action? The script looks like it was verifying the state for you. Yes, I could do it all with scripting. At this point, I probably should continue with scripting. Shit, I think you're right. I think I just need to edit that script. If it's playing, then set the mouse modifier, and then also, yeah, stop. Transport, save all recorded media. I'll use that one. Copy command ID. Main on command. That one, and then what else do I need? Integer flag 0, I think. Does that make sense? So if play is active, then change the mouse modifier and stop. No, I gotta swap this again. I think I've got this right. If it's playing, I press spacebar, it will stop and change the mouse modifier to the default. Right? Deselect all notes and move edit cursor to default. And so if it's not playing, then I think we need some music on to help me think. If transport's not playing, then start playing, which is transport play. Play. If it's playing, my mouse modifier is like that. If I press that again, it stops, and my mouse modifiers. Yeah, I think we've actually solved this. Thank you for your help, Pat. I think the script is exactly what I needed. I am astounded that I remembered main on command is what I needed. Okay, so I'm going to delete that one from the action list and find the script and rename it. New action, load rescript. Add that in. Now this will be my spacebar override. Now let's go to the main action, or the MIDI editor, find spacebar, transport stop. I'm gonna delete that, and let's go to pass through. Actually, I should check this. I think that's already working. Yeah, hell yeah, that's working. Cool. That should be a huge improvement for working on drum loops. Let's test that. Let's go to drum edit mode and 16ths. And I'll double click to add in a note. Yeah. So that feels so much better. Like, I don't always do the double click thing, but when I do, it's always been an issue. Hopefully it's less janky to rig up when they refactor the mouse modifiers. Yes, exactly. So I actually didn't even use any of those actions for the mouse modifiers in there. Like the new scripts. But inside that action, it's just this, which is like set mouse modifier. Here is which mouse modifier, piano, MIDI piano roll, click. And then 0 is default modifier. Increase the number for like shift, alt, control, etc. I think there's 15 total. And then 0 is, 0 is either a action ID or 0 for default, or like whichever one's in the list. So if I go to piano roll click, left click, 0 is no action and 1 is deselect all notes. This command here is running on stop. Davi, you're lost with this? Well, basically, try editing MIDI while it's playing, while it's looping, and see if you don't get frustrated. I think I've solved that issue. And hopefully everyone can benefit from that. I can share the script to do that. My transport is automatically synced to the main, so that's why that works. There was just so many roadblocks with that issue. It was very frustrating. The MIDI editor transport doesn't report in the actions, like toggle states aren't shown. So then cycle action can't automatically get that. So that means, okay, I need to find another way. So you can detect from the main transport. So cycle action could do that, but the cycle action for the main editor can't trigger a MIDI editor function. Okay, so, oh yeah, MIDI mouse modifiers actions are going away. So don't use them. So, all right, we're into scripting for sure now. And yeah, I mean, I've been a Reaper user for 13 years or something now. And the issue that I was having wasn't clear to me until like a couple weeks ago. We were trying to do something and it was like, why does the playback keep skipping ahead? I don't know if I just never noticed it or I just always dealt with it, but I was like, this is a thing I need to fix right now. Oh yeah, put this button in your toolbar as well. Preview notes on add edit. That's not in the MIDI editor toolbar for some reason. You gotta like go here and options. Note preview. Yeah, so just turning this on and off. Am I going to make a video on it? Maybe. I mean, in a way, I've already made the video. This will be edited into a video. Control surface. It's your time. I've gone back to Driven by Moss for now. All right. Starting with overhead. No. Vader's fighting me a bit today. There we go. What are your thoughts on the forthcoming fixed lane comping system? I like it overall. I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to change at once with that. Mouse modifiers. There's new elements for the track control panel and stuff like that. So it'll be a big but good change overall. And I like that they're not taking anything away. It's making that change. So it's just a whole new system. Works better than free item positioning for my needs. But I haven't really done any comping with it, to be honest. Just like stacking items, really. Personally, I'm thrilled to be able to keep swipe comping and edits as close to the original recorded tracks as possible, to audition changes and make edits without creating new tracks, copying and pasting, and then collapsing them down again. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of really good stuff in there, and probably a lot of bugs for the first month that that's released. But there's lots of people working on making that really a solid system, and I've barely touched it because every time I do, it completely changes. But free item positioning is something that's rarely useful for me. Yeah, so it's much better already. Like just in a few minutes of editing MIDI in here with that new workflow, it's much better. It's just one of those annoying things that you might not even realize exactly what's happening. You can just double click and your cursor is not going to jump there. So that was one of the videos I wanted to make this week that just ended up taking forever. And really, we only figured it out today on stream. The final, I don't want to say final solution. I hate that term. The ultimate answer to this problem was only figured out on stream. So I'm glad we did that. I'm glad I got back to that topic today. You know, I should go back to Venus Theory's stream and figure out what Reaper MIDI issues he was having. Because when I brought it up at the end of the stream, he didn't seem too happy about it. Whatever issues you have with Reaper's MIDI, you could probably sort it out. Being able to articulate what the issue is the hard part. Because like a lot of people love Ableton's MIDI, but then can't explain why. If after like 13 years I can figure out a workflow issue that's been bothering me the entire time, it's worth coming back to those topics. The thing I've always wondered is if there's a way to have the play bar in the MIDI editor to scroll like it does in the main window. I actually don't know. I never use continuous scrolling. Is that it? I can't see shit with that. Unless I zoom way out. Okay, so it works if you have continuous scrolling on in the main options menu and view piano roll time-based project synced. Sometimes I'll go with project synced. There used to be a really horrible bug with project sync. It was offset by window position. You guys remember that? Yeah, it used to be like if you move this left and right, it would scroll on you. But they fixed that. It's now it's relative to this window, but it used to be like hard locked to the view of the main window. I mean, it's cool to be able to zoom and scroll with it. You used to get into positions where, or situations where you'd have this docked somewhere or floating on a separate window and you couldn't see the content of what you were editing. Yeah, ChatGPT with Reaper is pretty cool. I got some help from ChatGPT yesterday for that thing. And at first it didn't seem to work right. Then I realized it was me that was the problem. And so it got me to this state here. Is MIDI playing back? If yes, then do this or do this, which is ultimately all I needed. Far more simple than I expected. It's not that hard of a script to write. It's one function. ChatGPT, the very first thing did something wrong, like this. Set mouse modifier, multi-item select, and alt, which is not correct at all. Multi-item select is not one of the things. It should be like mm_ mouse mouse, whatever was in my script. mm_ctx_MIDI_piano roll. And it should be a 0 and a 1. I wasted a lot of time not realizing that there's a quote. And it was suggesting things like pan and zoom and scroll for that. I'm like, that's not anything like what I want. And I thought it was completely wrong. It was only a little bit wrong. And then here it was how to create a toggle. That didn't end up helping me. What is command ID 39270? And this is wrong. And then Reaper MIDI action to select deselect notes. It did point me to the right one, unselect all notes. I was searching for deselect, it was unselect. Check MIDI transport status, and Reaper.MIDI_get play state is not a real function. Get play state is. Since I always work with my MIDI editor synced to the main, sync editor transport to project transport. If this is checked, then play will affect both the MIDI editor. Have I tried out the Mini Freak yet? No. Send me one. Have I tried out Poise Drum Sampler? I think it's Windows only. Yeah, it's Windows only. I've never tried it. Yeah, I hardly ever go on my PC. I've got Contact. I've got Satala. I've got Addictive Drums 2. I've got Easy Drummer 2, which is not installed here, but I have it. Analog Lab has some drums. Decent Sampler probably has drums. I barely used that one, actually. Contact 6 and 7. Speed Drum. Steven Slate Drums 5 free. And XO. My favorites right now for electronic drums is XO. For real drums, probably have to go with one of the Contact libraries. Even though I prefer, like I like the sounds in the Contact libraries, but I prefer the interface of Addictive Drums. The best free one is probably Steven Slate Drums 5. Would you recommend Geist 2 over Machine? I do like Geist 2, but I think it's a bad investment now because they seem to have abandoned it. For free, Satala is a good one. I would say Satala is probably pretty comparable to Poise. 8 samples per pad. You can't do that with Satala. I think I've tried Grace Sampler or something that looks similar to this. I have Geist 2 and I like it a lot. It covers so much ground. It's like a DAW by itself with 8 engines, 64 samples, I think it is, per engine. each sample can be multiple layers. I'm pretty sure there's 64 notes. Each engine has its own mixer, effects. Each pad has effects. Each pad has full ADSR, filter, looping stuff. There's a built-in sample browser, built-in sample recording, retrospective recording as well for the MIDI input. There's automatic slicing, sequencing. There's performance view. It's everything. But it's also abandoned now. That's the most frustrating part. I would recommend it 4 or 5 years ago. It's hard now. But it was such a complete system, and I don't trust this company right now to give it another update. There's no current Mac version. I don't remember what I paid for Geist 2, but it felt worth it, and I wish I could keep using it. But it had some bugs, and they never got fixed, and they're still selling it, but they have not... What's the last time they posted the news? 2021? That's not a good sign. It's a really bad sign that this company is no longer managed. 2018, I was recommending Geist. 2016, I was recommending Geist. 2016 was already a bit late getting into Geist, honestly. I think all abandonware should be open sourced. Probably right. Atlas is a good alternative to XO. I didn't like it quite as much, but I did have a good impression of it. It's well made. It's a small company. I feel like you just get better sounds and better effects with XO. And so XO ended up being about the same price on sale at Black Friday. So I went with that one. It's quite similar to XO, where you've got this like constellation view or world map view, and your sounds are automatically sorted into these different continents. And you've got the sounds. You can have more sounds in here than XO, which is a nice benefit. Oh, and it did have a nice sequencer, I gotta say. Sequencer was good. Manipulating the sounds, mixing it, not as good in Atlas compared to XO. But for the price, $69 is pretty good. XO looks confusing AF. I'll just bring up XO then. Here's my library of samples. Red is like kick sounds. Blue is snares and claps and stuff. Yellow is hi-hats. So you've got these 8 sounds, and it forms a kit. And we can preview that kit with this. And if we want to change, let's say, this shaker sound. Yeah, cool. I don't like this kick anymore. Let's go here. That's cool, but let's go to something similar. Sure. Right? So that's all really easy to do. Once I'm in this pattern here, or once I've got my kit selected, I can modify this with the controls at the bottom. And there's even a little bit of a sequencer at the bottom. So velocity is just drag up and down. Click to turn on and off the steps. And then there's a swing, and there's a nudge control. And so you can do a lot of stuff just from this one screen, like a one thing at a time sort of screen. We can also go to edit. Now we have all 8 drums and the controls for each one, all in one screen. We also have the sequencer. So let's play this. And at any time, I can just change the sound. Right? So you don't have to constantly go back to the sample browser and try different things. So we've got a basic pattern here. How about some effects? There's 2 send effects. So here's the kick. Actually, let's do it on the snare. So I can turn up there's 2 different reverbs. There's a sample editor. We could do things like, I forget, fade, auto detect the start, lots of things. Then there's also the beat combiner tab, which gives you sort of like Euclidean types of patterns automatically for you. So there's like these one-click sorts of things that puts in a bunch of shapes or something in there automatically. But you can click on any of these. So here's what I had pattern, my original pattern for the kick drum is there, and I can try out different ones. Or I can randomize it. And if I like that, I can hit this export button. I can render that as a wave. I can drag this into Reaper, hit stop, and then when I go to Reaper, it's playing at my project tempo. There's host sync and, you know, all the usual stuff that you expect is there. Atlas is very similar, actually. Like with the same idea, but a different interface. You can have more samples simultaneously in Atlas. The step sequencer is very traditional. I really liked the beat combiner function and just kind of the look of this. I like a little bit more. Neither are bad. Be happy with either one probably. XO won for me. You drag and drop samples into XO. I've actually never tried. Funnily enough, I've never tried that. File drop not supported. You can only drop folders on XO. Drop 1 or more folders to add them to the sample folders. So there you go. I would go with Satala over Poise, personally, because it has the built-in effects. If you don't need multiple layers of sounds, round robin, things like that, if you're fine with just basically velocity scaling, velocity to volume scaling, then I think Satala works fine. This seems to have a lot of the same features that like Geist had for layering the sounds. Poise has some effects, just basic effects, yeah. If you see XLN Audio XO on sale, I would recommend getting it. I got it for $55.30 US. So Plugin Boutique had a good deal on that. Sugar Bytes drum computer is nice too. Sugar Bytes is a company that I have not thought about in a really long time. Looks pretty cool. More of a classic drum machine kind of vibe. 16-step sequencer, 8 sound engines. It is a sampler and a synth. Yeah, I'll have to check this one out. But it is now 1 o'clock and I should get going. Thank you guys so much for coming to the live stream today. I had a lot of fun and I hope you did too. I will be back next week with possibly a video. This stream will be edited down into a video and will be live Wednesday or Thursday. Had a lot of fun today. I think we had a really good stream. Got to unbox some old pedals, play around with them. fix some Reaper problems, and just generally have a good time hanging out with you guys. All right, so I'm gonna go get some lunch. Have a great weekend, and I will at least see you next Friday. All right. Thank you so much, guys.